Sharing with us powerful stories. We have been joined by a young man that I'm going to ask Congresswoman Diane Watson to introduce to us. As I understand it, he's just returned, and she brought him with us today, and he has something he wants to share with us. And then we'll take questions from the press.
I want to thank Congresswoman Waters and Congressman Conyers and all the brave and dedicated Americans that are sitting on my left for having the courage to come and speak their hearts. And I hope I can keep this and say this without getting emotional. But here today is Abdul Henderson, a young American male who was in school at Cal State LA, planning his future and planning to be married. And he was called to serve his country, a call that he responded to immediately because he's a Marine, he's an American. And so he went to Iraq. He had to interrupt his education and his plans and go to Iraq. And when he got there, he saw the reality of that situation. And he immediately wrote back to us. And our mail is difficult coming into the Capitol, as you know. But what really caught me is that he would open up by saying, "War is hell." Then he would detail. And then when we had our young people captured, and you saw the young African-American woman, he wrote a letter and said the rumor was that they were killed, their bodies dismembered, and thrown out in the desert. I told my staff to write him, and we made cookies to send to him and to share with those in his unit. I don't know if they ever caught up with him, but they were out there for you, Abdul. And he would tell us the conditions under which they had to serve, never knowing before they went that they had to contend with the weather over 100 degrees, never knowing that their uniforms were not adequate, never knowing that the equipment they were given would malfunction. And so I'd like you to meet Abdul Henderson, a Californian, an American, and a proud Marine.
Thank you, Congresswoman Watson, Waters, Congressman Conyers, the panel, Mr. Suarez. I understand deeply what you're going through. Your loss is my loss. I'm a United States Marine. On January 14th, my life changed forever. That was the day I received activation orders. As you heard, I was a full-time student at Cal State LA. I was called to duty. A few weeks later, the day after the State of the Union address, I was on a plane heading for Kuwait. I arrived February 1st, moved into a camp called Camp Commando. Now, this place was a place during the first Gulf War. They had a huge massacre. All the Kuwaiti special forces were at that installation, and they were massacred by Saddam's tank divisions. And now I'm there. So now, spend a few weeks there, and as I spend those weeks there, I come to find out that, wow, we don't have the equipment we need. It's not up to par. Our vehicles are not in combat condition. Am I gonna make it? It's like, is this really worth it? I had reservations going into this war, and I still have them now, and I don't think we should have been there. I saw men die, and to watch a man die over a cause you could not believe in is very painful. I saw a tank roll over into a canal, and we did everything we could to save these men. We were fortunate, we got him out. One died, he was crushed. The other one, he drowned, had brain damage. He died at a hospital. And I stood there, and I had to call in the medevac. They wouldn't send the helicopters because they didn't. It wasn't safe for the choppers to come in and pick up the wounded. I sat there and I saw this wedding ring on his man's hand. His name was Matt. He was a UK soldier. And I was like, man, his wife, his children are gonna get that call. They're gonna walk up to that door and say, your husband, your son, he's dead. And for what? For what? Why should American soldiers, British soldiers, now we have the Polish in theater, the South Koreans, I don't know if the Japanese weren't there when I left, but I heard they were coming. We have Spanish. Do we need those soldiers there? I think not. And they keep saying this is not about oil, this is about the people. This is about freeing the people. Well, my first military objective in going into Iraq, March 21st, was to secure the Ramallah oil fields. That was our unit's objective. And we did that. We secured the oil fields, and then we went into the city. They say the Iraqis had destroyed the infrastructure. Well, they mess with it to make our job difficult to reestablishing the oil production of this country. But the infrastructure to get petroleum out of that country is very much intact. I can assure you that. That's what they won't show you on television. You might be able to see some of the city of Baghdad, but they won't show you the oil fields. They might show you a couple of oil fields on fire, but I was there, I saw it. That structure was very much intact. With $87 billion, it can be rebuilt. It can be rebuilt. I'm glad to be back. I came back home June 23rd. And when I came home, we go through a demobilization process where we go through a physical, and okay, no problem. We do this all the time. This is part of our obligation. And when I took my blood pressure was 154/98. I'm 28 years old. Why is my blood pressure 154/98? Can anybody tell me this? They couldn't tell me that. So we do another one 5 minutes later. They tell me my blood pressure is fine now. It's 135/90. The absolute minimum we can deactivate you. Okay, nice and dandy. I want to get off active duty. I want to go home, sleep in my bed. I've slept in a lot of strange places that I just wanted to go home. So I'm sitting here wondering, why is my blood pressure high? Why? Did the military, the United States Marine Corps, Department of the Navy do anything to tell me why my blood pressure was abnormally high for a man my age? No. So I do my own investigating. Come to find out, my cholesterol level was a 226, which is borderline high, but that's high. The normal level is a 200. So there's a problem. Now, what can I attribute that to? Well, we went through a series of injections ranging from anthrax. I had 3 of those shots, smallpox, malaria pills. We have a pill. We took a pill called NAPS, which is an anti-nerve agent. It's supposed to help you reduce the shivering. So if you're exposed to nerve agent, you can inject yourself with atropine and I forget the other one, but it's supposed to help you be able to inject those shots. So keep that in mind with the water we were receiving. We weren't receiving Crystal Geyser or Deer Creek. We were receiving water from the UAE, United Arab Emirates, the Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia, and some places in Kuwait. And one of these sources of water would have a pH level of 8.2, which is fairly high. And when you taste it, you know it's not good. We had one bottle of water. I wish I kept the wrapper, but we had a tent fire at Camp Commando that burnt down about 40 or 50 tents or something like that. Anyway, and a lot of things were destroyed. But these are this is what we were given to consume. This was the water. And we don't even talk about MREs, meals ready to eat. These are the replacement of the old ration packs. They're high energy, high saturated fat, high calorie intake, sodium, cholesterol. Everything that you're not supposed to eat is in those. And so you consume this 3 times a day. I'm a field Marine. I'm in the field. Sometimes we don't make it back to the rear to get hot chow. So what do we eat? MREs all day, all night, every day. I was out in the field sometimes for up to 2 weeks, MREs. I don't know if the government has done studies on this, but if you're African American, you know that high sodium and fat intake is bad for your health. And that is probably part of the reason attributed to, besides the pills and the poor eating habits I had to deal with. I'm glad to be home. I want the troops home now. They deserve to be home. Their commitment to this country is done. Now they need to either let the UN involve. That could be a catch-22, because now, since it's always going to be an American administrator in charge of other foreign countries' troops, I'm not going to speak on that anymore. But the soldiers, they need to be home. That's most important. There shouldn't be another drop of blood spilled in the Iraqi desert. I consider myself lucky. Mr. Suarez, I understand the missus and her daughter, Captain. I understand your husband. I understand your son. I just hope and pray that this situation is resolved quickly and that everyone comes home. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank the members of the press for sticking with us